NASA's live stream cut out. Brian Cox went on air and said, "What we're witnessing may force us to rewrite everything we thought we knew about deep space." What had begun as a routine sky survey from a deep space telescope over the Pacific spiraled into one of the most controversial astronomical events in recent history. NASA shut down the feed minutes later. They deleted the raw footage, and the object, it's been named New Oumuamua. This isn't a joke. This isn't clickbait. And Brian Cox is right. This changes everything. New Oumuamua breaks the rules of physics. At first glance, New Oumuamua appeared similar to the 2017 interstellar visitor, oddly shaped, extremely fast, tumbling erratically. But this one came closer, much closer. And this time, it didn't just pass silently through our solar system. It changed speed, it changed direction, and then it stopped. In Cox's words, we are witnessing non-ballistic motion. That's not a comet. That's not a rock. Even more terrifying, the object decelerated as it approached Earth, with no visible propulsion. NASA's Deep Space Network registered micro-vibrations consistent with internal guidance mechanisms. The live feed picked up thermal fluctuations localized around its structure, hinting at some form of active regulation, as if the object was cooling or shielding itself. And just before the blackout, a beam of prime number pulses aimed directly at Earth's upper magnetosphere. If New Oumuamua sounds familiar, it should. The original Oumuamua sparked one of the biggest debates in modern astronomy. Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb publicly suggested it might be an interstellar probe, not natural at all. It was cigar-shaped, oddly reflective, and accelerated without any clear source of propulsion. But it left before we could study it properly. This new object didn't leave. It lingered. And just like its predecessor, it's not behaving like anything we've ever seen or can explain. Is this a cosmic tripwire? Several physicists, including Brian Cox, have suggested a radical possibility. New Oumuamua isn't a probe. It's a sensor. A kind of interstellar tripwire left in dormant orbit, waiting. Waiting for what? Perhaps for a signal, or an action, or an awakening. Cox speculated this theory ties into the Fermi paradox, the haunting question. If the universe is so vast, where is everyone? Maybe the silence is the answer. It's crazy when you think about it. We can land rovers on Mars and detect black holes, billions of light years away. But right here on Earth, something far stranger might be unfolding. Maybe advanced civilizations don't broadcast. Maybe they watch, silently. One chilling interpretation. We weren't supposed to notice it. And now that we have, we've triggered the next phase. Contact. But not the kind we hoped for. After the feed went dark, independent observatories in Chile and South Africa picked up something strange. A directed burst of electromagnetic radiation in the X-band, consisting of prime number intervals. Sound familiar? That's the universal language Carl Sagan envisioned for alien contact. But it gets even stranger. The burst matches a fragment of the Voyager Golden Record, specifically the sound of a heartbeat. One pulse, then 3, then 5, then silence. This wasn't just communication. It felt like a mirror. Let's take a breath, because if Brian Cox is right, this isn't joyful first contact. It's a probationary encounter. We've been noticed, and we're being watched. Not out of curiosity, but judgment. Not, are you intelligent? But are you worth keeping? If this is true, everything we know about our place in the cosmos changes instantly. Here's the terrifying speculation astrophysicists are quietly debating. New Oumuamua could be a node in a larger cosmic filtration system, one that detects civilizations as they become spacefaring and determines their threat level. That would explain the non-gravitational maneuvers, the prime number signals, and why the object didn't initiate contact but observed from a distance. Brian Cox likened it to a quantum observer effect on a civilizational scale. We may be collapsing our own probability wave simply by advancing. If this is part of the so-called Great Filter, it's not behind us. It's right in front of us. On April 7th, a ripple passed through Earth, not through the atmosphere or crust, but through its magnetic skeleton. CERN's magnetometer array, typically tuned to calibrate the LHC's superconducting magnets with exquisite precision, registered a global magnetic distortion. Not regional, not localized, global. Duration, 0.72 seconds. Amplitude, anomalous but non-destructive. Frequency, unprecedented. And most unnerving of all, it was structured. To the untrained eye, it might have looked like a simple magnetic pulse, but those 0.72 seconds contained embedded harmonics that didn't match any known terrestrial cause. Not solar activity, not electrical infrastructure, not seismic interference, something else. But what makes this moment truly chilling isn't what happened on Earth, it's what happened 43 light-hours away. Voyager 1, the furthest human-made object in existence, drifting through interstellar space since 1977, caught the exact same signal. This shouldn't be possible. Voyager's instruments are decades old. Its antenna array wasn't designed to monitor low-frequency magnetic pulses. And yet, 43 hours after CERN's reading, NASA's Deep Space Network received a signal from Voyager, timestamped to match Earth's event to the millisecond, except it wasn't a relay. It was a ping from Voyager, containing data it had never recorded. Not possible. NASA's own engineers confirmed it. The signal wasn't sent by any known transmission protocol on board Voyager. It was as if the spacecraft had responded to Earth's event. Not with a bounce back, but with a custom-encoded message, one that none of its onboard systems had ever been programmed to send. It was like Voyager had been used, an interstellar relay. The immediate reaction inside NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab wasn't excitement. It was confusion, followed closely by containment. Multiple internal sources speaking under anonymity said the data was pulled from public logs within hours. What had initially appeared on the Deep Space Network's open dashboard suddenly went dark. Researchers close to the mission reported that their access credentials were revoked. One team member claimed to receive a direct call from Langley with the instruction: do not analyze, do not replicate. The message was simple. Whatever this is, it's above your pay grade. So let's ask the question, who used Voyager? And more importantly, why now? Consider the possibility that New Oumuamua wasn't the cause of the April 7th signal, but the effect. Let's back up. Voyager 1 is currently in the heliopause, the edge of the sun's influence, where interstellar space begins. It's the perfect vantage point to monitor inbound and outbound transmissions across the solar system. And maybe that's exactly what it's been doing. Not for us, but for something else. A distributed network of watchers, probes, nodes. Call them what you will. Positioned around the solar system. Silent. Dormant. Until now, the magnetic pulse detected by CERN may not have been accidental. It might have been a trigger, intentionally set off by New Oumuamua, or a response to something we sent into space. And Voyager? It may have been the nearest available interface. The encrypted packet from Voyager was intercepted and decoded, partially, by an independent radio astronomy team in Finland before their feeds were shut down. They described it as mathematically elegant. A low-bandwidth structure consistent with nested prime intervals, logarithmic spirals, and binary wavelets. Not language, not random noise, but message architecture. In other words, a framework for data. as if the real contents were locked inside a kind of interstellar zip file. What's more, the structure resembled a frame correction matrix used in Earth's own deep space optical encoding systems, but modified in a way that implied knowledge of quantum error, correction protocols we've only begun to explore. How would an alien intelligence know the structure of our error correction systems unless it had been watching, listening, studying? The implication: we're surrounded. Let's break this wide open. If new Oumuamua triggered a magnetic pulse on Earth and a simultaneous encoded reply via Voyager, then we're looking at multiple synchronized transmission points. Meaning, new Oumuamua is not alone. This object may be part of a distributed network already embedded across our solar system, a network capable of activating dormant technology, overriding ancient probes, and triggering planetary-scale electromagnetic effects. And they didn't just see us, they responded. The idea of a quiet universe, of a cosmos where life is rare and distant, collapses in light of this. What we may be dealing with is a silent surveillance architecture, camouflaged across orbital bodies, comets, or even within our own discarded satellites, waiting for a signal, not to contact, not to invade, but to act. Astronomers are now quietly revisiting anomalous data from as far back as the 1970s. In 1973, a Soviet Venera probe recorded a brief magnetic whine while passing behind Venus, dismissed as solar wind interference. In 1989, the Galileo spacecraft passed by an asteroid whose albedo readings changed mid-flyby, suggesting it was not a uniform rock at all. In 2003, Cassini registered a momentary polar inversion in Saturn's magnetosphere, just 0.7 seconds long. All dismissed, until now. Suddenly, these anomalies may not be random. They may be tests, activations, probes, and now, with the April 7th signal, we may have woken the system up. Why the response matters. Here's the most important point. We didn't ask a question. No message was sent. No signal beamed. No probe launched. And yet, something responded.